A common acronym used in the military, especially in electronic communications, is bottom line up front, or BLUF. It's the military TLDR in which the sender says, hey, I have some information pertaining to the subject for you, but I recognize the limited nature and value of your time, so here's a quick summation of what's to follow. Well, bottom line up front, as of this moment, the original release of Ninja Gaiden 2 for the Xbox 360 is still the definitive version of Ninja Gaiden 2. Hey everybody, Guilty here. So Team Ninja shadow dropped Ninja Gaiden 2 Black on us the other week, and they really got us. The trailer demonstrated a stunning reimagining of the game in Unreal Engine 5. The stages, characters, effects, and lighting have been completely redesigned and remastered to provide realistic visuals. Gore elements such as dismemberment and blood have been remastered to enhance the action experience. And something I didn't see initially because I watched the Xbox preview and Xbox doesn't like pretty fictional women, I guess. This remaster includes additional elements from spin-off titles released after the original. Players can control 3 additional characters, Momiji, Ayane, and Rachel. Team Ninja proclaimed this is the definitive version of Ninja Gaiden 2. And they reiterate that position by adding what I consider an honorific, only used once before, Black. Now that is a statement. Calling this game Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is a powerful implicit message because as far as this community is concerned, Black carries a lot of weight. It invokes the name of a predecessor that epitomizes a definitive, an actual definitive, refined, and enriched version of an already punishing and polished action experience. A game that wasn't just a re-release, but a culmination of lessons learned, expanded content, and redefined challenges. And I'm here to tell you that this game is undeserving of it. The beginning of the modern Ninja Gaiden series started on the original Xbox in 2004, and it was a rebirth for the character of Ryu Hayabusa. This was not the side-scrolling ninja action of the Nintendo Entertainment System. This was a brutal, high-speed 3D action game that would redefine the entire genre. Devil May Cry was its own thing, and it was awesome, but Ninja Gaiden was something never really seen before. Something that people who didn't gravitate to DMC could now embrace. It was a game about dying slower than your enemies, killing faster than your killers, being efficient, or dying sloppy. It's notorious for intense combat and unforgiving difficulty. How many people have I read about or watched over the years outright quit this game? Because either they kept getting bodied by the Chapter 1 boss, assuming they could even make it that far, or the early 2000s camera simply frustrated them to the point of no return. No, Ninja Gaiden wasn't perfect, but it was damn near close. It's a beautiful game even to this day, with an arsenal of weapons to choose from, a variety of clever enemies to manage and fight, 3 difficulties to overcome, normal, hard, and very hard, and 3 additional costumes to unlock, the Shinobi Shozaku, Cyber Ninja, and Demon Ryu. Support for the game didn't end there though. It extended to Xbox Live. Team Ninja announced the Master Ninja Tournament shortly after, online competitions in which players around the world could compete and submit their scores to leaderboards. And it was at the in-person Master Ninja Tournament where finalists were given a challenge no one had seen before, the Hurricane Packs. The Hurricane Packs were downloadable expansions to Ninja Gaiden. The first pack was the single-player campaign, more or less, but with a bevy of new additions. A new weapon, the Lunar, about a half-dozen new enemies, a revised ultimate technique system, a new camera system, new costumes, such as the Dead or Alive throwback and the dragon muscle suit, we called the doppelganger back then, and most significantly, the intercept technique, an advanced perfect parry and counterattack maneuver that allowed skilled players to deflect enemy strikes and retaliate instantly. This was a broke-ass move. You could counter almost everything in the game, even projectiles. It was stupid broke, it was a godsend for karma runners, and I, to this day, am still not that great at it. Hurricane Pack 2 followed, now known as Eternal Legend, a boss rush mission set in the final dungeon of the main game, in which Ryu must fight through hordes of seemingly non-stop enemies, returning bosses with minions, all of which were new combinations to players, and 2 entirely new bosses, the demon gods Nikkei and Ishtaros. Admittedly, Nikkei is a bit of a reskin of Alma, but Ishtaros is a merciless bitch, full stop. The Hurricane Packs weren't just DLC. Team Ninja was actively refining and evolving this game before our very eyes, and players would continue to see the fruits of this labor in short order. In 2005, Ninja Gaiden Black launched as the definitive version of Ninja Gaiden, of what would now be called NG04. This wasn't some cash grab, some repackaged bullshit with a Game of the Year edition sticker thrown on it. Black was a statement. It took practically everything from the base game and the Hurricane Packs, refined it, packed it all together, and then added more. There were entirely new enemies introduced, like exploding bats and doppelganger fiends that mimicked Ryu's moveset and used his own weapons against him. This added even more depth to an already Marianic system. It reworked and introduced brand new difficulty levels, including Ninja Dog mode
for the kids,
and the brutally hard Master Ninja mode for those seeking the ultimate challenge. And NGB's approach to difficulties should be studied, because going from normal to hard to very hard does not mean fighting the same enemies, but they have more health or they're a little stronger. Each difficulty has a roster of exclusive enemies, ones you won't see on easier or harder modes. An encounter with shadow demons on normal will be replaced with cat fiends on hard. A standard fight against fodder on normal will be replaced with a duel against a doppelganger, of which there are several, by the way. Not only are enemy encounters different per difficulty, but field pickups vary too. This chest has a health regen on normal, but on hard, it's a fucking map. What about prices at the upgrade shop? Well, they increase with difficulty too. What about rewards from collecting golden scarabs, the in-game collectibles? Well, they get worse for the player as well. NGB added smoke bombs, an underrated projectile weapon that went misunderstood for years. At the higher difficulties, Ryu begins with more starting weapons than just the dragon sword. Additional armlets that cut down on charge time for ultimate techniques, or double key collection from Red Essence were added. Even Ayane was given more relevance to the main story. Along with the Dead or Alive throwback and dragon muscle suit, NGB added the classic blue ninja costume inspired by the NES title, and the red muffler, nicknamed the Hatsuma by some in the community. And in addition to the 4 difficulty modes, NGB also added mission mode, 46 standalone battles, including Eternal Legend, each playable on the 4 difficulties, all designed to push players to their absolute limit. And goddamn, do they push players to their limit. They pushed me to my fucking limit. This game's fucking hard. Now, unfortunately, there were some cuts. For whatever reason, the futuristic Cyber Ninja costume is not available for play, though it is present in the game files. The accompanying plasma saber is an in-game reward though, which makes the costume's absence that much more conspicuous. And another change was made to the Katetsu, so it no longer drained the player's health when it was used. But perhaps the most noticeable echo of what once was is the intercept. Believed to be too powerful of a technique, and rightfully so, Intercept was not included in NGB and is unique only to the Hurricane Packs, though the text of its scroll can still be found in the game files. And for all I know, the code's still in there too. Though NG04 was not completely rendered irrelevant by it, Ninja Gaiden Black is obviously the complete package. Despite the few sacrifices that were made, NGB adds significantly more than takes away. When it released, NGB became the gold standard for what a definitive version of a game ought to be, which is what Black means to me, a game's ultimate, indisputable, uncompromising form. In 2008, Ninja Gaiden 2 took Ryu's journey to the next level, and to a new console, the Xbox 360. This time, the violence was cranked up with a new dismemberment system. Enemies didn't just die, they lost limbs, fought through their injuries, and turned into suicide bombers if not dispatched, preferably with the new and beyond hilarious obliteration techniques. Familiar weapons like the Dragon Sword, Vigorian Flails, and Lunar returns, and are accompanied by brand new weapons, the Falcon's Talons, Kusarigama, Eclipse Scythe, Tonfa, and Twin Swords, Dragon's Claw, and Tiger's Fang. All of which added even more variety to combat with their extensive lists of techniques, grabs, and executions. Similar to the Annihilation battles of NGB, in which Ryu would face off against staggering waves of 60, 80, 100, or 120 enemies, Team Ninja introduced new challenges in the form of the Tests of Valor, optional encounters against waves of unyielding enemies, rewarding those who sought out the toughest fights. The initial release of NG2 was pretty bare bones, admittedly. 4 unlockable costumes tied to completing the 4 total difficulties. Additional costumes and a mission mode were made available, but through paid DLC. The 3 new costume packs were Biometal, Fiend, and Shadow Walker Hayabusa. Each were priced at 200 Microsoft points, about $2.50 USD, and included 5 different color combinations. The mission mode DLC cost 800 Microsoft points, about $10 USD, and offered players 24 self-contained missions, such as Karma Attack, with the task of obtaining the highest score, and Survival, in which players chose a single weapon to fight off as many enemies as possible and struggled to live for as long as possible. At the end of the day, the original Ninja Gaiden 2 featured 20 costumes, 24 missions, and a 14-chapter single-player mode. Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, released for the PlayStation 3 in 2009, was a heavily altered version of its namesake. While it retained the core combat mechanics of Ninja Gaiden 2, it made several controversial changes. Enemy counts were drastically reduced, altering the pacing and overall difficulty of battles. In exchange, enemies were given increased health and increased resilience, making encounters feel less chaotic, but also way less intense. The game's gore and dismemberment system were significantly toned down, almost completely removed, with the blood from decapitations and severed limbs replaced with purple mist effects. New bosses were added, such as the Black Spider Tengu, Demon God Oba, and returning from NGB, Demon God Marbus, along with 2 other bosses that were outright tonally dichotomous with the rest of the game. An animated giant Buddha statue and an animated Statue of Liberty. Look, I think Ghostbusters 2 is funnier now than I used to, but come on, man. The Statue of fucking Liberty? And for some reason, there's a Dark Dragon boss fight in place of the fight against 2 King Kodals. Like, is this the Dark Dragon? Or is it just a Dark Dragon? Like a black dragon? You would think if it were the Dark Dragon, a year after the Dark Dragon Blade incident, there might be more said about this, but there isn't. Hang on a second, let me check the guide. Oh, for fuck's sake. Well, stop me if this sounds familiar. The kanji for this boss reads Kokuryu, so a translation could be Black Dragon, or Dark Dragon. Anyway, the Flare Shadow Fiends from NGO4 and NGB also return, and with a new variation, the Vulcan Shadow. But on the other side of the coin, the Amazonian Deathworm boss was removed, along with the entire section of the Amazon chapter it occupied. And for some unknown reason, the winged Dragon Garuda enemy was completely removed too. Not dissimilar to the Gobdeck from NGO4, but at least that appeared in NGB's mission mode. The Garuda, sharing the same name as the fire-breathing Crimson Fiends from the first game, is nowhere to be found in Sigma 2, and I have no idea why. Sigma 2 also introduced more playable characters. Ayane returns, as does Rachel and Shrine Maiden / waifu Momiji, each with their own unique missions, fighting styles, and weapons. Even Ryu adds to his arsenal of melee weapons from the original Ninja Gaiden 2, the heavy sword Shattering Fang Enma, referring to the wrathful king of hell in East Asian and Buddhist mythology. I get close to slipping and saying enema every fucking time. The game also added 35 online co-op missions with team mission mode, something I sadly missed out on. And in the wardrobe department, not counting pre-order content, Ryu has 5 total costumes. Ayane has 3, Rachel has 5, some of which just being different hairstyles, and Momiji has 3. But what else did Sigma 2 remove, besides the blood? Tests of Valor? Gone. The ability to pocket Lives of the Thousand Gods and Spirit of the Devils, which actually had extra utility due to their full resupply of Ryu's health and ki, respectively, instead opting to automatically apply the upgrade upon pickup. Finite arrows, because charging an ultimate technique with the bow and arrow. All that, fucking gone. Instead, Ryu can fire infinite arrows out of his ass. No incendiary shuriken. The exploding shuriken made delimbing and neutralizing threatening enemies at least somewhat manageable in the original NG2. Gone in Sigma 2. No windmill shuriken, another projectile weapon that could be charged with essence and used to delimb or decapitate enemies from afar. Fucking gone. The Gatling spear gun. Instead, Ryu's bestowed with a fucking cannon. I'm actually starting to like this thing. Fight the water dragon with a melee weapon. In Sigma 2, you are stuck on a small platform platform shooting projectiles at a boss, when in the original NG2, you could jump off the platform, run on the water, and risk attacking the dragon head on. At least if you chose to stay on the platform, you could do more damage to the dragon by charging your bow and arrow attacks. Melee damage against Gigadeath. For some reason, you are forced to fight Gigadeath by shooting him with arrows. How exciting! In original NG2, you can charge a Lunar UT and deal melee damage, for example. Or, just like with the Water Dragon, if you choose to fight him from afar, you can at least charge your arrows with a UT. Muramasa's shop. In all forms of Sigma 2, you are only entitled to one upgrade at a specific Muramasa shop at one time. Not every Muramasa statue offers upgrades, and you can't upgrade a weapon to its maximum level until after chapter 10 in a 17-chapter campaign. In 3 of those chapters, you don't even play as fucking Ryu. In NG04 and NGB, upgrades cost essence and are staggered behind story chapters, but you have the relative freedom to purchase whatever upgrade you want, assuming it's available. And, assuming you have the funds, all weapons can be upgraded to max in one playthrough. In Ninja Gaiden 2, there were no restrictions at all. All weapons can be upgraded at any time. You could upgrade the Lunar and the Dragon Sword to max before the end of chapter 1, assuming Ryu has the money. But Sigma 2? Nope! The unsung hero of Ninja Gaiden 2 is allowing the player to buy items from Muramasa that they missed or didn't pick up in a previous chapter. That's something else you may have to spend money on, which could bite players in the ass if they're not careful, because on higher difficulties, you're gonna need every cent or dollar or ruple or whatever your local currency is for healing items, rather than burning it on something as silly as an item in a chest you accidentally walked right past. Miss a life of the 1,000 gods? Well, not anymore. Just buy it. Speed running and ran past the Falcon's talons? Main man Masa picked them up for you, no problem. It'll cost some essence for the trouble, but rather than completely missing out like an NG04 or NGB, NG2 offers a very gracious helping hand in a game that is universally known for being unforgiving as hell. Guess what they did with the feature in Sigma 2? They removed it! Not only did they remove an actually intelligent and helpful gameplay element, they cut something else the player could spend their money on. Because remember what I said about weapon upgrades being free? Well, relegating essence to only purchasing healing items, some of which cost 2,000 or 4,000 essence, it renders the currency useless because you're already picking up multiple healing items from chests throughout each stage anyway. You wanna know what else makes essence useless? Outright making essence useless! Gathering the 30 crystal skulls, Ninja Gaiden 2's version of collectibles, will also reduce the prices of items in Muramasa's shop. In original Ninja Gaiden 2, it only affected your karma score, but in Sigma 2, it gives you discounts when you're already overflowing with money? Sigma 2 also removed New Game Plus, replacing it instead with Chapter Challenge, which admittedly could have been included in the original release of the game. Instead of replaying the entire game with all weapons fully upgraded, or all weapons no upgrades, the developers added a mode in which you play the game piecemeal instead. It isn't great. You begin the chapters with the health and key it would be assumed you would have at that same chapter in the story mode, and your key isn't filled up completely, and nothing you pick up in one chapter carries over to the next. The only benefit to Chapter Challenge is being able to load up any part of the main story on demand. The 35 co-op missions do not include the survival missions from the NG2 DLC, and none of the costumes from the original NG2 are included either. Of the 3 purchasable costume packs, only 1 skin survived. Fiend Hayabusa. Biometal actually does appear, but as a skin for the new doppelganger enemy. It is not selectable by the player. What a fucking tease. Sigma 2 would see a re-release on the Vita a few years later, in which the purple mist would be rolled back and the blood and gore of the original NG2 restored. Additionally, a new game mode was added, Ninja Race, in which players had to compete against the clock to finish 5 of the single-player missions, picking up speed boosts and extra time along the way. However, the online tag missions were gone. The partner player replaced by a CPU-controlled NPC. A new hero mode was added to single player, and Ryu would reclaim a familiar costume, the DOA throwback. The pre-order bonus costumes from base Sigma 2 were also included, as well as brand new costumes for each of the 3 girls. 8.5 years later, the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection was released on Xbox Series and Xbox One consoles, PlayStation 4, Steam, and Switch. All the pre-order bonus costumes from Sigma 2 and Sigma 2 Plus were finally gathered in one place, bringing Ryu's total options to 7, Ayane to 6, Rachel to 8, and Momiji to 6. But aside from that, it was For all intents and purposes, Sigma 2 Plus. The same game modes, the same lack of online features, the same purple mist, the same bullshit. Now tell me, with everything you've heard so far, what game would you rather play? Let me clarify that Ninja Gaiden 2 is backwards compatible on Xbox Series and Xbox One, capable of running at 4K and 60 frames per second on the Series X and One X. This was certainly not achievable on the Xbox 360. If you aren't aware of the notoriety of Ninja Gaiden 2's frame rate on the Xbox 360, you are clearly new around here. Now, with all that having been said, do all the changes made to Sigma sound worth it to you? Do they make sense? I know what I said earlier, but if you're into action games like Devil May Cry, like Metal Gear Rising, like Bayonetta, but you want something more, something else, something that scratches a different itch, do you want the game that gives you everything, or the game that tones it down and holds back? In Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, the same main Sigma 2 story returns with the same Sigma 2 difficulties and the same playable Sigma 2 characters, Ryu and the 3 girls, and the same chapter challenges as before. But the Ninja Race game mode is noticeably absent. I actually thought Ninja Race was fun. What about fits and costumes? NG2B, honest to goodness, only has 4 costumes for Ryu. As for the girls, they each only have 3. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black has the least number of costumes of any version of NG2. None of those hairstyles for Rachel return. The 35 co-op tag missions return, but did Team Ninja add those survival missions this time around? Remember, this is supposed to be NG2 Black. No, they did not. Any online leaderboards? No, but that would require server support on their end, so I guess I understand that. But is there anything new on the scale of Ninja Gaiden Black?
Anyone? Anyone?
No. Not at all. They removed the giant Buddha and the Statue of Liberty fights, fixed the Muramasa shops so you can upgrade weapons using essence and without restrictions, but considering the reduced enemy count, you're going to have reduced income too. And they claim to have balanced damage and enemy placement to be more in line with the original game, but I could tell within the first 5 minutes this adjustment was as shallow as a puddle following a morning piss. A picture speaks 1,000 words, so I'll let these comparisons do the talking.
Man, what the hell everybody anyway?
Now we arrive at the real question. Does Ninja Gaiden II Black earn its title? Based on precedent, a black version of a Ninja Gaiden game represents its ultimate edition. The most content, with new challenges, polished mechanics, and a higher skill ceiling. Now don't be obtuse and miss the point. Ninja Gaiden II Black is a sign that Koei Tecmo remembers Ninja Gaiden exists. The fact that this, and Ragebound, and Ninja Gaiden 4 is being released in the year of our Lord 2025 indicates that Ninja Gaiden is not just a thing of the past. It means that there is a future in this franchise. I think that's great. I think that's good news. However, my criticism lies in the fact that we have essentially been given, for the fourth fucking time, Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2. My criticism lies in the fact that they invoked the original Ninja Gaiden 2 by using the red Roman numerals of the original. But if all Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is an Unreal Engine remaster of Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, showcasing a few very minor tweaks, how can anyone inside or outside of this community say it truly lives up to that legacy? Where are all the enemies? Where are the survival missions? Where's the rebalanced combat they speak of? Why remove a simplistic game mode when it could have been expanded? And at a time when cosmetics are innumerable but commodified, where is the easy slam dunk that would have been unlock 'em like in the old days, costumes, hairstyles, and palette swaps? Ninja Gaiden Black set a precedent. A Black game isn't just a re-release, it's a transformation. And Ninja Gaiden 2 Black could have been so much more, yet it fell underwhelmingly short. If Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is nothing more than a repackaged version of a game we already have, that itself is an inferior version of another game, then the Black moniker is not just undeserved, it's a disservice to what the developers at Team Ninja built 20 years ago. Unfortunately, Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is still Sigma 2, but with even more stripped away. Even with Ragebound and Ninja Gaiden 4 on the horizon, it's no wonder the community's Magic 8-Ball still reads, "Outlook not so good." Thank you for watching. My name is Guilty. Like, subscribe, go outside.